we do get
Conference
a
will
quorum.
now be recorded.
So I call the January 20th, 2026 Administration Finance meeting to order. And Commissioner McRae, we can't vote you in yet, but if you have any questions, please feel free. And then we get a
Oh,
quorum, we will vote you into the meeting.
okay. Thank you.
And so we can't, Commissioner Jackson, how are you doing? Chair?
Yes, sir. I am doing well. You don't necessarily have to vote me in. I mean, I'm here if I may ask a question or two, if that.
Of course. But if when we do get a
But
quorum,
other than that,
we will invite you in and vote you in.
okay. Thank you, sir.
All right. So we can't approve the minutes, but we can go to, if there are any citizen comments. Okay, then we'll go right into the new business. And there are three financial statements, 3 months of financial statements. And what we're going to do, tell me if I'm right, Sid, we're going to do September and November. We're not going to do October since October kind of flows into November. So with that, we'll turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you very much and good evening, everybody. So we will be discussing September, the unaudited financial statements. Pam, can you please make this bigger? Maybe make that a slideshow, and then we focus on the first page. Thank you very much. And maybe we can increase the font. Can everybody see it? Maybe make a little bigger. Is that possible? All right. For those that have the printouts in the package, I will be focusing on the budget to actual and the net profit line on the first slide. The first program is COCC, the bucket, and really for the unaudited financial statement, we closed the year, if you were to focus on the net operating income line, I go to the punchline first. We ended up with a $3.1 million deficit. You will ask, where did that deficit come from in the COCC with this large number? This is related to the benefits that had changed mid-year, where there was a budget assumption made with old rates, not knowing the increases in percentage by the carriers. When the carriers went through with their pricing, that had a negative impact on not just our organization, many organizations in the state where the benefits rates went up. And that difference, that delta, is about $300,000 for that year. The difference, $2.7 million of the 3.1, is associated to making the accrual adjustments for the actuary report on pension and OPEB. OPEB stands for other post-employment benefits related to retirees, as well as the pension benefits. And you know we are not aware of the numbers until we receive the actuary report from the state. And that's when you catch up with the numbers in your financials. So the majority, $3 million out of that $3.1 million loss, is associated to activity that the Housing Authority has very little wiggle room to make adjustments related to those activities, and the $100,000 from other expense lines. Any questions to that?
I got one. Well, the question about the loss is obviously the increase in the benefits, but how is this going to be? Is there a plan to cover the deficit in some kind of way?
So this particular deficit in CUCC is very difficult, let me tell you, because first, CUCC is all fee generated from programs, and the deficit essentially is rolling into your equity, the official term, your savings account, and that is a deficit account. It can only be replenished or made whole as far as its obligation from business activities income or the nonprofit entity. Over time, the COCC will dramatically change as you go through asset repositioning. So this is something that we will have to review over time in future how we are going to tighten the belt to ensure that any future obligation, especially when it comes around your pension obligations, how will those be covered? And that will be part of our analysis as we move forward and start our strategic planning rollout as we meet with you in the month of February and beyond. You're welcome. HCBP admin, we have two buckets, the admin bucket and the HAP bucket. The admin bucket is your admin fee receipt to cover the operations. The HAP bucket is the housing assistance payments received from HUD to pay to the landlords, the pass-through. That's why you see two columns. I go to the punchline first. The loss for the year was $375,000. And basically that $375,000 was absorbed through the equity, your savings account. There is adequate funding available, and that was put into the budget assumptions or projections when the FY25 budget was created, that the equity will absorb that deficit. You also see that it was budgeted at a loss. So it's about $200,000 in addition to that loss. Where does this come from? There is a timing difference in admin fee receipts. Although the unit months leased may have gone up, HUD does not do the reconciliations until the quarter is officially completed. And we have not received in the month of January as of yet the reconciliation associated to that activity, that quarter for the month of September. So there will be windfall potentially showing up in this year's financials associated to prior year activity. Okay. The HEP dollars, you can see there's almost a $1.4 million surplus. HEP dollars, again, is passed through from HUD to landlords. When you spend less in the HEP dollars, these savings stay in our account and will be used for the next month release and offset whatever the actual expenditures are. So this is always something that goes back into Treasury anyway. And because we had been in shortfall in the calendar year of 2025, this essentially will just stay in our bucket to offset any other additional costs that may arise. I think that's very self-explanatory, easy to manage. The real estate development department ended up with a $2.5 million deficit. So this is a little bit more complex, and don't be shocked about that number. There was a prior year reversal of a journal entry from the audit, which comes from the notes receivables reconciliation. At the time of the unaudited submission, the notes receivables had not been updated and reconciled. We made a commitment to the auditors that we will this year present final entries associated to bond notes receivables, as well as the DUF 1 and DUF 2 older closings, as well as the Michaels 1 and 2. And there will be additional notes receivables that will require additional reconciliation, which will be catch up in 2026. Once this entry will be made, what we call the period between unaudited and audit, client prepared adjusting journal entries. Those are journal entries that we will prepare based on good information that we will have in-house and reconcile. I see this number to basically almost be a break-even number. But I want to disclose the activity that still needs to happen on the balance sheet in order to bring this in line. Any questions to that?
If I may, Mr. Chair. Sure. So you and I talked about this, and I was asking you, was this deficit a function of us not doing not being able to do the reconciliation early enough so that this $1.7 million does not reflect as a deficit? You and I talked about that.
So twofold. In the past 2 years, there were a lot of activities that needed to occur in the finance department other than just focusing on the balance sheet, including building capacity and staff. This notes receivables was one of the major line items that was too big to be handled with the current capacity from staff and having absent information to allow us to do a good job, a well job in notes receivable reconciliation, because you talk about legal documents going back to years that need to be reviewed, found, and updated. So there was a natural assumption made between the auditors and Precious and myself to what we will use for reasonable assumptions on note receivable based on prior year activity. But we made a commitment to ensure that the balance sheet activity on notes receivables will be updated no later than this year in 2026, because the activity is just overwhelming. But we have touched all other major activities on the balance sheet. So this is like the last overarching item that is missing to really prepare us for S&P ratings going forward to have a clean balance sheet.
I'm going to ask, well, I guess it's really going to be more of a statement. And I don't think you can answer it because I think only the auditors can really answer it. And, if I remember, there were no audit findings, there were no
Correct.
any material adjustments.
Correct.
So it sounds like that administration and the auditors agreed that here is a major account that is out of balance, that has not been reconciled. And I guess here is the statement, but we're not going to cite you for it. We're just going to move on.
That's correct, because we agreed that we made reasonable adjustments and assumption based on prior years. It was not a major variance compared to what the balance is. It was not unreasonable to make the adjustment.
Isn't the adjustment over $1 million?
The adjustment may be over $1 million, but again, in our case, this will be a client-prepared journal entry, and it's not an audit finding because the auditor is aware we are self-disclosing, and we are basing our actual adjustments based on real documentation, not just on repeated average adjustments from prior years. We're making adjustments based on real activities. So now the hope is that the final adjusting entries associated to those that I mentioned will not be over $1 million, right? Yep. All right, on public housing, we ended up the year in a loss of $865,000 in actual. What is this related to? There is the significant adjustments made for invoices that had to be accrued. You will see that in the AP that the accounts payables was over $1.1 million. We will show you that slide shortly. But there was a lot of materials, contract work at the public housing site that essentially caught up in the month of September. It was budgeted to be actually a profit-making line for through the month of September, but ended up close to $1 million in deficit, which we took into consideration in the budget assumptions, taking a hard look on capital items, eligible capital items in operations that needed to shift over to the capital fund program, such as unit renovations and emergency contract lines when it comes to water leaks or roof leaks, and not be part of operations. So public housing again ended up in $1 million loss. This particular loss was absorbed through equity. So there will be no adjustment or no cash movement from the business activities or your nonprofit to cover and absorb this particular deficit. This will be rolling right into the equity. I want to look into the financial position on the same slide where we cover the months of cash reserves. You will note that at year end, the public housing is close to 4 months. HUD makes recommendation that a housing authority should have 4 months worth of reserves. So we were hovering and teetering right close to that 4 months, and it will be our goal, watching closely every month, that we are right around that particular reserve months, 4 months. Ideally, you want to be at 6, 8, or 12 months. That's not the current situation, but at least making sure that we maintain the 4 months in the cash reserves. Pam, if you could please shift over to the accounts payables, the aging summary. You will note on the aging summary, in the month of September, it looks like this. Page number, yeah. She got it. She got it up. So you see, in the month of September, it's a very busy month because you prepare for closing and you want to make sure all invoices are captured or capturing appropriately the liability to pay out from the housing authority. And you see a substantial jump of $917,000 of the accounts payables. And that is because you literally really try to get every invoice that is outstanding onto the books. For this reason, we are skipping over the month of October review, because when you accrue it all in September, you automatically reverse all of those invoices out in the month of October, and it would really look skewed and look like we had very few invoices to pay when they were all captured in the month of September. So usually October is very slow when it comes to expenditures, because you really put all your efforts into the year end. If you're concerned whether those bills were paid, all of those bills were paid. I don't want to steal the thunder and roll slowly forward, but don't be alarmed. All of those invoices have been paid. Okay?
So are you saying the total 917,000 has been paid?
Yes.
I only have one question, Mr.
Yes,
Chair.
sir.
Why we ended up in 90 days? I guess that's a question I didn't need to ask as somebody who's a
It was a cash flow pinch.
cash flow issue.
Yeah, it was a cash flow issue. We have drawn down since then the $6 million that were owed to us from the letter of credit in the lock system. And since then, we have caught up all the payables. So yes, it was a cash pinch.
Okay, I just think as a business person myself, and I'm waiting for my check to come, am I having to wait 90 days? Is that
No, not when we look
norm?
forward, that's not a norm. We try to be between 30 and the 60 days at most. Sometimes also it's about staff reviewing invoices or vendors not having the ideal invoice format, maybe something missing in question and it's not approvable by staff. So you try to tether no more than 45 days, really, on average.
Are any of the vendors asking for, I guess, late payment?
We do have vendors on occasion that call the finance department, and then we resolve those questions or matters fairly quickly and communicate back to vendors. Right, Miss Colleen, between our accounts payables and procurement, it's either we don't have the PO or we don't have a good invoice, but we are very good in tag teaming to respond back to our vendors. You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question, if I may.
Of course.
So, Commissioner Parker, you asked a really good question about the 90 days. So, this kind of, are we seeing evidence of this 90-day payment pattern impacting vendors who desire to work with us? Because if I'm a small business owner and I'm having to wait 3 months to get paid from the authority, I run the risk. Well, we as the authority run the risk of leaving a very bad taste in their mouths, and it's not as welcoming to those same vendors that we may be in need of their services going forward. What can we do? Because this is, to me, as a small business owner myself, it's unacceptable.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a
Yes, sir.
statement? And I certainly
Yes.
can't answer for the administration. But at Virginia Union University, our agent is 3.2 million. And we probably have anywhere between 750, sometimes close to, well, 750, 800,000 over 90 days. And what we have found, and I'm wondering if it's similar, is that we don't have invoices, or the invoice doesn't agree with the purchase order, or there is no purchase order. Now, 10% or so, it's certainly our fault that we missed the payment. But when we did our analysis, and I guess I'm asking the same question, is it similar here?
Very
Is
similar.
that the late payments most of the time is not because of the cash, not because not paying the bill,
Correct.
but it's rather you don't have the documentation to make the payment.
Absolutely correct. And
Absolutely.
we find the same issues here as well, especially in the month of September. We ask vendors that are slow to prepare sending in their invoices, hey, get them in, it's our year end, and we don't have them, which triggers you have to use the invoice date, which sorts them into the buckets of aging. And those that do call in that have an issue, that may be a small vendor, we resolve those fairly quickly and get them processed.
And I can say that we actually have a.
This is an issue. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
we actually have a vendor that waits like 6 months to bill us. He continues working, but 6 months after he's finished the work, he's billing us. Yeah, so, yeah, it's ridiculous. We're like chasing him down for his invoices.
And so what we find many times, we are actually bending over backwards. It's just the opposite for us.
Yeah.
We don't do that. It is Sig said it's typically 45, but what we have found, it's the opposite. We're bending over. They're not doing what they're supposed to do on their end.
I
Correct.
think that's good if that's the analysis,
Mhm.
because it's just bad if everybody's got everything all lined up and everything, and they get it all in on time into the office and payment time, and then they wait 90 days. That just doesn't look good.
No.
But if all these other factors are attributing to it, then that's fine.
Yeah.
I just like for people to be paid in a timely manner. And I think it says that in the contract, doesn't it?
It does, and we do have the fair payment, the Prompt Payment Act that we have to adhere to. So definitely something that if we don't have good invoices to process, we can't just blindly process the invoice either, right? As far as the last page, the finance department highlight that were attributable for that month. At that time, we were closing out the year. And of course, we were preparing for the unaudited submission by November the 30th, which happy to report, of course, these milestones have been met and they have been met timely. I also want to highlight that the September, October, November packages have in there the cash flow statement that you requested and also the detailed aging. They're not printed because detailed aging, I believe, was 160 pages, Pam, something like that. So we are only focusing on the summary, but you do have available in your emails the details associated to cash flow as well as the AP aging for all 3 months.
Actually, what I was really asking for when I asked for it is really the aging slide. That's really all I want to see.
Okay, if you only want to see the
That's what I
aging
want.
and
I'm
not
not
the
sure about
detail,
commissioner. Yeah,
we can skip
yeah,
that.
yeah, that's all I really wanted to see.
And for the cash flow, I don't know if you noticed, but it was 8 pages long, and that is what is currently producible in the Yardi system, the software provider. What I would like to do is, Chair Lewis, work with you and maybe get to a summary cash flow that is user friendly, and I can put on one slide to just show inflows and outflows and maybe major categories and assumptions that we're making. That way I don't have to produce the 8 pages of cash flow.
That would do.
That will do. Okay, great. We have a bingo, which I call. With that, we are skipping to the month of November if there are no additional questions from anybody. All right, so November, the first slide. And again, I just like to go to the punchline and go to the actuals. Now, the benefit that you have when you start a new fiscal year, and I say this, it looks always great. I love that period of time. Do I have money to do that in the budget? Absolutely, yes. I'm just 2 months in, right? So you could not have spent your money. So we are usually very happy between October, November, and December because things are catching up. You're just trying to get all them invoices back in, and pieces are just slowly flowing. I'm just preparing for other deadlines. So when you look at the programs, COCC, we ended up with a net profit of $168,000. Why is that? We have received a $320,000 dividend check from the insurance, and that is related to 24 financial activity at the insurance carrier, HAI and HARC. And what they do is they scrub their books and say, did we have leftover cash from insurance claims and payments received? And is there something that we can pass on back to the insurers? And sure enough, we received this dividend check in the month of November. So that, of course, is positively impacting the COCC by showing more. But you say, okay, I received 320, I show a profit of 168. We also have a little delay in when we take in the capital fund management fee or when we pull in those funds. I've worked with the finance staff and we worked out now a more, what would I call, predictable cash flow schedule from the drawdowns on the capital fund management fee, and we will be drawing in those funds on a monthly basis. The budgets, as you know, really we don't prepare a cash flow budget. We prepare a budget for the whole year, and then we just load 1/12 of that into the system. So it's just somewhat even, right? And sometimes cash doesn't come in just in the 3 quarters or 1 quarter, so it could skew the picture. So what I'm really trying to say is you may see budget differences, but I always go to, did I have profit for that line or for that program, and did I do better than I assumed? So you can see for the COCC, we assumed for 2 months we will have $40,000 profit, but we ended up with 168. So that's a good number, right? And then what you have to do is monitor, right? And hopefully tighten the belt a little bit to stay within budget. The Housing Choice Voucher Admin Program ended up with a profit of $219,000. A little bit of timing difference here, why they spent a little more. You can see $46,000 more. That's the little red number that you see in the middle. That is from the consulting bill. Although it was already 2 months in, the bill did not show up until the month of November. So it would have shown zero overspent in October, but in November, the invoice was presented for activities September, October, November, and I'm sorry, not September, October and November. So that's why you see that profit, but it will normalize because it's a 1/12 budget in there. And the contract was scheduled through the month of December. On the HAP, we had a profit of 174. Again, that's really not profit. That's just adding into the bucket that you have available to pay out to the landlords. On the RECD, the real estate, we have made a profit of $29,000. I want to communicate here that I looked up those numbers from last year, we had in bond financing receipt for the whole year $180,000. And then through the month of December, we already collected $90,000. So this $29,000 is directly correlated to bond fees receiving, but also we have a delay on the Grace Street sale. So you will see January is going to look differently than now because these proceeds were assumed a little earlier, but they come in a little later. So keep that in mind when you review real estate. On the public housing side, right now, this will be the largest discussion. We have a current profit of $924,000. You would say, whoopee, this looks very good in regards to what we just have seen in the month of September. So definitely a timing difference. But I have to say, we were funded at a proration through the month of December for 102%. Beginning in January through the month of May, housing authorities are funded at 86%. What does that mean? What does that mean? we receive $1. And when you're prorated at 86%, we will receive 86 cents to the dollar, not the dollar. So when you're prorated, this 86%, which was budgeted really at 96%, what happens is that delta is $250,000 per month. This underspending from October, November is needed to help offset the proration from January through the month of May. The critical mass when it comes to public housing, looking at the expenditures, is really around March, April, when you catch up with all your bills and see all the damage over the winter and everything else that need to get done in that period of time when it's the cold season, which is usually a heavier expense season, including the utilities. So usually April catches up with everybody, and uh, Mr. Franklin has already received communication to keep an eye out and watch carefully on, let's hold back on items maybe that we had planned to do early in the year just to see what happens, because we do not know what appropriations will do after the month of May. Continuing resolution is in January. When it runs out, we do not know what the Appropriations Act will do and how we are being funded going forward. So this is the time to be prudent and watch out. But again, I'm highlighting month of cash reserves. You can see from September, we were closely at 4 months, and now we're at 5.21 months. So very good. At least we're a little over 4 months, which is a good sign for public housing. But we're only here through the month of November. Pam, can you do me a favor and please go to the accounts payables aging summary? You will be very happy with us on that, because you see we currently through the month of November only owed $115,000, and you see the bucket for 61 over 90 days was only $19,000. So very good numbers. And as of today, in January, we are up $400,000, but we have not seen these numbers in a while. So we're actually very happy in accounts payables, and we are able to satisfy the regular payments of invoices that come into the agency. Going to the last slide, I briefly touched on it as far as departmental highlights. As I said, operating subsidy was submitted timely on 10/21. Unaudited submission was done 5 days early. Very proud of the team. HUD has accepted our unaudited submission without comment and without rejection, which is a very good sign and almost unheard of. We also met our first deadline for our client prepared listing to the auditors. We're now working on the second deadline to submit all of our documentation in. We're actively working on notes and bonds receivables. And as I said to the auditors and to you here today, we make a commitment to have all these done as client prepared entries. And additionally, we are actively reviewing all allocations on accounts that were observed in the startup period. I always call October, November our startup period. You know, you load the budget. What do you see? Major variances. So I have identified a few action items for the team to review, which primarily deal with allocations, because we look at allocations on an annual basis. As you know, during the budget, you make certain assumptions in the budget, but then you have on the operational side decisions that impact the budget decisions. And then you have to revisit your annual allocations, make sure that every program is charged accordingly. And those we are trying to cure with the month of December. And we are in the middle of closing the month of December. Today is January the 20th. Yes, we are closing December a tad behind. The good news is that we are able, going forward, close financial activity within 10 business days, leave 2 days for review and corrections, and should be able to issue financial statements by the 15th of the month. And that's the schedule we're going to roll forward. So if finance committee meetings happen in the fourth week of every month instead of the third week, you actually will have current statements to review and not behind. So just making a comment and observation, but if the meetings stay in the third week, then you will typically just see that you're always 1 month behind on actual activity, but we can speak to the
Yeah,
activity.
but I think we have to have the finance for the full board.
Yeah,
So you'd have to
yeah,
move everything
everything.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So those were the highlights on the
If I may,
financials.
Mr. Chair, please.
If there were any, if there were any additional questions, let me know. I know Commissioner Lewis, you did not have a lot of quality time maybe to spend over the activities since we just produced 3 months worth. If you have additional questions, please reach out and I have no problem backfilling any of the
I
information.
do have one item, and that is actually two. So the first is that under Finance Department highlights, the third bullet point is worth noting. It's worth noting because in 2000 FY25, the Finance Department submitted and its unaudited submission was accepted by HUD without comment or rejection. That is for 2025, a milestone. It's a big deal. Typically, HUD always has comments. They always. That's because it is just routine. I know that having been assistant secretary at HUD, they always. But this speaks against to our, what we submitted and the soundness of we submitted. There were no comments, nor any rejections, and that's not one of the board objectives and goals for the CEO and for the agency. That's one of them that's outside that we do every day and that we hit this. And I didn't include that in my 25 goals and objectives because this is just like one of those that we just do and we get done. So those other things we accomplish throughout the year, that just we gave a big hurrah to the finance and team. I want to say that. My second comment is that, and I apologize, the way we produce our financials towards the end of the year, we always produce, and Precious said this before she left, September, October, and November, we produce those together, right? That's because of the time of HUD. Hence, we have all this paper in front of us. Chair Lewis just said to me that we should save some precious trees. He's a tree hugger. And so he mentioned to me that we should save trees. You will not, going forward, have these three big documents. It's because we're producing 3 months. In the future, you only have the agenda, the notes, the vacancies, and IT going forward. We'll be reporting in time. That's one of the things I think you should share. When we will be going back, right? Reporting the month in which we're in, and we will not see all these trees and being killed.
Uh, I forgot to mention, I did not go over the financials from the RDC, the nonprofit, and that is because I prepared actually the RDC separately as a package. They should not be included on the Housing Authority side. So I have actually produced November as a standalone packet for the RDC since it's a blended component of the RRHA.
And then also, I believe, and I don't believe, we're going to report to the full board on the RDC because we think that's important. And the board has asked. Well, I will be reporting on both our agenda and what we did, and also the financials tomorrow at the full board.
So do you want me to include the packet from the independent RDC financials for tomorrow? Because we did a standalone packet. It's
Yes.
tomorrow. Yeah. Okay. No problem.
Mr. Nesmith, may I add one thing? There's the conversation about the timing of getting the packages to the committee and the board. I just wanted, and I'm not sure if you were on the meeting that we had last week. We proposed at the board governance committee changing the schedule for the committee meetings so that they happen in the last week of the month. It's a proposal that's out there for the committee chairs. I just wanted to, and doing it that way would ensure that you got, yeah.
We'll take an opportunity separately to share and debrief Chair Lewis on that proposed calendar change.
Okay, we will move to the vacancy, agency vacant position report. VP Clark.
Good evening, fellow commissioners and staff. So for the HR vacant positions report, we have a total of 14 vacant positions, and we are actively recruiting for 10 of those positions. So for the sake of time, I am going to go through my report, but I'm only going to touch on the positions or the slides that have vacancies on them. So if you hop down to our finance slide, we do have a vacancy in finance, our CFO position that we are actively recruiting for. For real estate development and community development, we've got one vacancy there as well. We're recruiting for the vice president of real estate and development. For public safety, we have a grant-funded position that we're looking to backfill, strategic planning analyst. For our LIPH teams, we have a property manager position at Fairfield and Gilpin Court. And we also have an assistant housing manager that we're not actively recruiting for at Gilpin. For HCVP, we have 3 vacant housing specialist positions that we are recruiting for. And we have 2 program eligibility specialists that we're recruiting for. We have 3 vacancies in our customer call center, but we are not actively recruiting for those roles. And that is our HR vacancy report. And I'd like to open the floor to any questions.
Mr. Chair. My only question is, do you have any applications for any of these resumes sent in, or that you are referring to now? Anything pending, in other words?
Yes, we have several applications received for many of these positions. Actually, I believe all of them we have received applications for. We have proceeded with interviews for our CFO position. We are reviewing applicants and hoping to get some interviews scheduled here soon for the position in real estate. And we have many applicants actually for HCVP positions, the housing specialist and program eligibility specialist. So we shouldn't have.
Public safety person. Public safety vice president.
Yes, so we are working on getting that position posted. That is one that we are going to be actively recruiting for, but as soon as it is posted, we will be reviewing applicants for that role as well.
6 months report.
And Chair, may I ask, this is Commissioner McCray, when
Yes.
Ms. Parker is finished.
Oh, yes. So yeah, we are looking next month to have a drop in our vacant positions. We're also looking to potentially do a hiring event here soon in the next month or two to address some of our HCVP and LIPH open positions.
Where would that hiring event be? And are you doing that in coordination with public affairs? What's that look like? Is one of those where you do specific outreach?
We are still in the beginning plans or phase of planning this event. We have been working with our LIPH team and our HCVP team to kind of get some of their ideas about what they're looking to do. We're looking to change a little bit of the way that we handle our interviewing, particularly for our maintenance positions. And so we just want to make sure that we get all those details together. And then we will be working closely, obviously, with our communications team and whatever other departments are needed to get that situated. We have not decided on a date yet or a location, but once we have those details, I'll make sure that they're shared with the board members.
Yeah, and I like to see that, right? I remember we were at 901. Back then, at that time, you were not sitting at the helm, but you were assisting. And we did an outreach. It was public affairs, but it was really done in the community. And so when you get those details, I like to just give me a sense so I can just weigh in on that. Thanks.
Absolutely. One of our last hiring events was really successful. Excuse me. I think we had some blasts on social media. We had some radio spots, and the turnout was really great. We were able to get, I think, 10 positions filled in one event. So it was really successful. That was here actually on the 4th floor in one of our conference rooms. I think it was the summer of 2024. So we are definitely looking forward to being able to do something like that again. And then I think Ms. McCray had a question.
Ms. Clark.
Oh, sorry.
for some of these positions that are not, senior management and everything else, are we looking to bring in some Section 3 people in on some of these opportunities? And where might that be and how's that going? How are you doing with your,
Absolutely.
I'm looking at the workforce development side of it. How are we getting people involved?
So that is what we are looking to accomplish with the hiring event, is to try to attract some Section 3 applicants, and particularly for our entry-level positions in maintenance, HCVP. We were really successful in that, like I said, in our last hiring event in 2024. So that is something that we're looking to make sure that we're targeting members of our communities.
Last question, Mr. Chair. Are you looking for some trades to fill some of the boards as far as the tradespeople are concerned too? And
Talking
how are
about
you doing
specialty
that?
maintenance? Is that what you're talking about?
Beg your pardon.
Trades? Are you talking about like
As far as
specialty?
electrical folks and plumbers and painters and all that kind of stuff.
Yes. So one of the things that we
Guys that
are
get all the stuff
doing
done.
for our current employees, we are trying to incentivize them to participate in getting those types of trainings. Ideally, we do a lot of promotions from within. So we are looking to um, encourage our current staff to participate in a program. I believe that Corey, our current SVP of Affordable Housing, and myself have been working together to put this together. But yes, we are encouraging them to get those trainings so that way we can beef up our trades program that we currently have.
Thank you so much. Appreciate everything you do.
Oh, thank you.
Commissioner McRae?
Yeah, some of the questions were already asked, and I hate to ask the same thing over and over again. But my main focus was asking. I know you said something about getting it out there, meaning like nationwide. So I want to know, everybody's getting like a packet, or it's going to be through the media to know about these jobs and what they're qualified for to get the jobs.
Yes. So any of our active positions that we're recruiting for, all of those positions, you can get access to them by going to our website,
The website.
RRHA.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So
That's what I wanted to know.
absolutely. But in addition to that, with us, with the planning of this hiring event, we are looking to do some advertising and marketing for that. So
Okay.
for that, we will be working with our communications and PR department to post on social media, or maybe try to get another radio ad or something. We'll see what we can do to get the hiring event communicated to the public. But as far as
Okay.
where to find our current open positions, you can find them on our website.
Okay, and when you plan on having it nationwide, like you said, like having it posted or whatever y'all gonna do, so I can write the exact date. Do you know the exact date, or is no date out
So
there just yet?
no date or location yet for the hiring event. Can you
Okay,
clarify what you mean by the national
like meaning like sometimes
location?
y'all do Facebook, sometimes y'all do flyers. Y'all have different ways of getting it out of there. That's getting it out
Oh,
to the public is what I'm asking.
okay, yes. So once we have those specific details of the hiring event
Mhm.
confirmed, we'll have more information as far as when the marketing for those events are going to
Okay,
occur.
so that'll be to be posted to everybody or the board or
Yes.
okay, okay. That's all I had to ask.
Okay. Yep. No problem.
Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, any other questions? We'll move on to the IT, VP Hicks.
All right. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'll be presenting the report for IT. During this past quarter, we did have our quarterly cloud services review. So on the first page of the report, it's going to be the backend as a service review, which is the backup of our back end of the operations of the network. So things that the end user doesn't typically see. There was over 26,000 successful tasks, and the backup success rate was almost 100%. It was 99.7. For the disaster recovery as a service, um, this is a backup of our IT infrastructure, like the data, applications, and the servers to the cloud. The we did meet our SLA. So it ended up being it took 4 hours and 2 minutes to back up. And our SLA is for 4 hours, and to recover or restore the backup, it took 9 seconds when the SLA is for 5 minutes. So we did very well with our restore recovery. On the next page, we have the infrastructure as a service. That's for our virtual servers and storage and networks over the internet. Only this thing is just showing you about virtual servers. It's just telling you the number of servers we have, how much storage, how much RAM the servers have. It's just a data, just information on the virtual servers that we have, and all of them were powered up. It also gave us information on how much storage we have been using. We use this also to make sure that we've been billed the correct amount for our cloud service storage. Okay, that's the end of the quarterly cloud review. Next, we're going to the network infrastructure. So successes for this past December, we were installed new Juniper AI Mist switches at 918. That was our first installation of the new Juniper AI Mist switches. They will be installed in the remaining sites. So it was good to do a smaller site when we were renovating it, when no staff was there, so we can test it, make sure everything's working right, learn, and so forth. Also, to get staff into 918, we had a vendor to install new data drops, and IT staff had to make sure that each one of those data drops was patched into the network before staff moved in. We also installed a new monitoring firewall at 918 for the staff relocating back there, as well as moving 2 copiers there. When the staff moved back, we did have IT staff available for two to 3 days to make sure that if the staff had any issues with connecting to the network or assembling their equipment, we were there, Johnny on the spot, making sure that they had everything that they need. Moving on down to Yardi. Yardi, we addressed several requirements for multiple staff contractors. We had to make sure they had access, the contractors that are assisting different departments, make sure they had access to various applications such as Yardi, REACT, PIC, and EIV. We modified property contacts and approvers as required, address and resolve multiple landlord issues, accessing Rent Cafe, and we provided multiple tenant files for fidelity. So that's oh, and another thing we did, PH and HCVP tenant file to the Ivy group, which they use to do broadcast messaging to the residents, and also they also send broadcast messages to us as well. The next slide is going to be the help desk statistics. Because we were closed for 2 weeks during the holidays, we only had 51 open tickets, 8.5% abandoned, 100% customers satisfaction. First call resolution was 91.7%, and the answering speed was 14 seconds. And the next slide tells you the type of calls we had. This time it was account administration, people trying to remember their passwords, also how to connect their devices at home when they were trying to work from home during the first 2 weeks and during the closure. That was mainly the main tickets we had. Most of the calls came through on phone calls and 12 through emails. Most of the calls were low priority, so nothing major during that time. During the next slide is Dart Trace. We had almost 6,000 emails that were moved to junk. About 2,200 had links within them that were locked. Almost 2,000 that were held. 97 that had links that were double locked, and we had 27 documents we had to convert. During this time period, we had over about 66,000 inbound emails and about 15,000 outbound emails that were monitored through Dart Trace. And then as far as the threat summary, this month we have all green errors, and the numbers are good. They went down. So that means that the Dart Trace is doing what it's supposed to do, which is learning our environment and putting that knowledge to use. Any questions? Mhm.
Um, on the service desk information stats you gave us, is that a norm, the trend in that what package that you gave us there? Because I know you said that we had some closed days and some open days.
That's
and
that's kind of low.
That's kind of low.
That's low. 51 is low. We usually trend about 100 and something calls to the help desk. Yeah. So that's low.
Mhm. My other question, at 918,
Mhm.
we did some installs at 918, we're trying to move back there. And I saw where you, have, your equipment there also. Do we have a standby backup generator there?
No, there's not a backup
There's no
generator.
standby backup at all there?
Well,
If anything goes
IT,
down.
so with IT in our equipment closet, we do have a UPS
Uh-huh.
for the our equipment, but there's no generator to the building. The only building that has a generator is 1812. As far as office buildings, of course, the elderly buildings do have generators because of elevators and things, but as far as offices, 1812, 901, but 901 is not occupied, but 1812 is the only building that has a
Standby.
a generator that clicks on. Also at 1812, that's where the IT department resides in our data center.
Mhm.
So not also what we have is the generator to the building. However, we do have a UPS that carries the power to the data center until the generator clicks on. And you have to come and see it one day. It's literally when you open up, it's like 20 car batteries in there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that's what we, but as far as 1812, it does not have a generator for the whole building, but we do have a UPS to maintain power to our data closet where our switches and routers are.
And once the batteries go out, that's it though.
Yeah, but uh yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know if they're gonna do about that, but we do have plenty of places. 1812 is right down the street. They can come
A lot
down
of
there with
critical
it.
information there though.
Yeah.
A lot of
So
critical information.
yeah,
Thank you so much.
you're quite welcome.
Good evening, commissioners and staff. Right now, we have a couple of bids out. Actually, got a couple more that have been put out in the last couple of days, but of the electrical infrastructure, that's our electrical system at the 4 sites that's kind of we own. And so that's for the service for that. And then we also have another bid out for on-call electrical services, which is to help with the retired from when we had staff that retired from that department, just to help with on-call electrical services. We have several bids that are still out in review. And got some upcoming solicitations that we'll be doing are our vacancy reduction, elevator assessments, and janitorial services for 1812 and 918. That professional services at LIPH that went out today. So we've been kind of busy in procurement. Lots of stuff going on. That's it.
Can I ask you, Colleen?
Sure.
You said the close on the electrical is the 19th. Have you gotten your bids back in yet?
No, we haven't gotten any bids in yet. It's the 6th. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. Don't let me lie to you. I don't know. Let me check with Edith because Edith was working on that. I didn't realize they were due yesterday, so I will ask her and yeah, I'll ask her in the morning. Thank you. Well, I don't know what day it is.
Yeah, hopefully we do if you're going to try to award it on the 1st of February.
Right.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Mr. Chair, any questions, comments? And Commissioner McCray?
I have no other comments. Thank you for clarification on the aging report, and that those are not our errors keeping vendors from being paid.
Well, we are, we're not able to vote on the resolution, so we'll just um, pass it on to the full board tomorrow.
Can I say something, one real quick? I forgot. I had Edith change the opening date for that because the 19th was a holiday and we were not going to be in the office. And so she actually changed it coming in tomorrow. That's, I forgot. Yeah.
Well, anything else? Okay, well, thank you, everyone, and we will adjourn the meeting.